Let me tell you a story. A story about a man who once believed that growing old meant growing invisible. But then something changed. He found a way to live fully again, even when it felt like no one was left by his side. If you've ever felt lonely or wondered what aging will feel like when the house goes quiet, this story might just change the way you see your future. The story of David Linh, age 64. This year I turned 64. Before retiring, I worked for a public service department in a small town in the American Midwest. When the agency restructured, I was asked to take early retirement. Thankfully, I had always lived modestly, so I had some savings. I wasn't rich, but I figured I'd be okay. Our house used to be full of life, my wife Mai, our daughter Lynn, and our son Phuc. But as time passed, the house emptied. Lynn moved to another state. Phuc now lives a few hours away with his own family. Then, Mai passed away after a long illness. Just like that, I found myself alone in a home that once buzzed with energy. One quiet evening, sitting alone on the living room sofa, the silence felt like it was seeping into my bones. That's when my phone rang. It was Phuc. He sounded rushed. "Dad, I was going to come by with the kids, but something came up at work." I smiled and said, "That's okay, son. I'm doing fine." But once the call ended, I let out a long sigh. The truth was, I wasn't fine. A wake-up question. The next day, my neighbor, Mr. Tree, dropped by. He's around my age, friendly, sharp, and honest. When he realized I was living alone, he asked, "You ever think about what you'll do if one day it really is just you?" That question haunted me. What if I got sick? What if I fell? Who would know? The silence wasn't just lonely anymore. It was frightening. Not long after, my daughter Lynn stopped by with her toddler. I had cooked some of her childhood favorites, but as soon as she walked in, she said, "Dad, I only have a few minutes. Work's been crazy." She barely had time to eat. I smiled and said, "It's okay, honey. I'm all right." But as I watched them leave from the window, I felt the hollowness creep in again. Taking responsibility for my life. That night, I lay awake, thinking about Mr. Try's words. The next morning, I invited him for a walk in the park. I told him, "I've been thinking, if we do end up alone, what can we do to actually live, not just survive?" He nodded slowly. "First thing, finances. Make sure you've got your essentials covered. Food, medicine, bills. No one's coming to rescue us." He was right. I sat down, calculated future expenses, and adjusted my savings plan. Then he added, "Second, don't isolate. We've got to keep moving. Join group activities, meet people. Otherwise, loneliness eats you alive." That hit me hard. I realized I had shut myself off completely after retirement. From that day on, I started walking in the mornings, doing light stretches. In the evenings, I visited the local community center, played chess, met other retirees. Slowly, the silence began to loosen its grip. A new companion, a new chapter. One evening, I met Linda Brown, a cheerful, sharp woman about my age. Her kids lived far away too, and she'd been on her own for years. We hit it off, swapped stories, laughed more than I had in a long time. Soon we were grocery shopping together, trying new recipes, taking morning walks. Linda didn't just fill the house, she filled my heart again. We didn't bother with paperwork or labels. We just lived like a couple, two people who enjoyed each other's presence. Once I came down with a bad fever. Linda jumped into action. Meds, cold compresses, even calling my son to help. When Phuc arrived, he was surprised. "Dad, why didn't you tell me you were sick?" I smiled weakly. "Linda's been taking great care of me. I didn't want to bother you." Loss again, and letting go. Then one day, Linda got a call from her son. He was getting married and asked her to move in and help with the wedding plans. She looked torn. She knew I relied on her. I told her, "He's your son. Family matters. You should go." She hesitated, but eventually agreed. The day I drove her to the bus station, my chest felt heavy. As I watched her leave, it felt like the house had become even quieter than before. Finding peace in a new place. After some long weeks of grief, I made a decision. I moved into a senior living facility. My kids were hesitant at first. "Dad, are you sure? Won't it be depressing?" I explained. "It's not about being sad. It's about being safe, having people around, not being totally alone if something goes wrong." To my relief, they understood. The new place had gardens, game rooms, and a wonderful Tai Chi group. On my first day, a resident named Mr. Vernon gave me a tour and introduced me to the chess club. That night, for the first time in a while, I felt safe, even hopeful. the final goodbye. But life doesn't stop giving us hard lessons. One sunny afternoon, my phone rang. It was fuck. Dad, Linda was in a car accident. She's in ICU. It's bad. We rushed to the hospital. Linda was pale, unconscious, with an oxygen mask over her face. When I held her hand, her eyes opened faintly. She couldn't speak, but I knew she saw me. Then, in the softest whisper, she said, "David, live well." And just like that, she was gone. Moving forward, gently, slowly. I was broken. Back at the assisted living center, nothing felt right. My children visited more. Staff tried to cheer me up. I appreciated it, but inside I was numb. Then, one morning, I saw a new resident. An older man who looked just as lost as I once did. I gently tapped his shoulder. "Hey, want to take a walk around the courtyard?" He nodded. We didn't say much, but we didn't need to. Sometimes presence is enough. Final reflections. Getting older isn't just about loss, it's about realization. We begin to understand how short time really is, how every relationship, family, friend, or companion is something to be cherished while we still have it. As the author Haruki Murakami once said, "We don't age gradually, we age in sudden bursts." One day you're chasing your kids, and the next, you're staring out a quiet window. That's why every little bit of joy matters. Every shared meal, every smile, every walk with a new friend. Closing message. So if you're getting older and you find yourself alone, don't shut yourself away. Build new routines, create new friendships, look for places where help is nearby, and if love comes knocking again, let it in, even if only for a few more years. Because at the end of it all, we don't just need someone to take care of us. We need someone to care with us. If this story touched you, or reminded you of someone you care about, please consider subscribing to our channel. We share real stories, gentle reflections, and helpful advice for navigating life's later chapters with grace and strength. Leave a comment below to tell us your story, or simply say hello. You never know who might find comfort in your words. You're not alone, and you never have to be.